Oh. Oh. Hello, welcome back to another episode of the OAT Podcast. I'm your host, Abby, and this is going to be part 2 of my interview with Madison. So I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I hope you like the rest of the episode. So I'm going to go loop back around to the other comment that I wanted to make.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even honestly remember what we were talking about, but I think you were mentioning therapy and how, it was when we were talking about talk therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So for me personally, I do know, and I'm right there with you, I do know that like for certain people, it can be absolutely beneficial and is 100% needed for them. But with my experience, like I haven't had great experiences with therapists. I went when I was really young and they were like actually kind of rude and mean, and I just felt scared to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then as an adult, I tried going and like I don't even really know where my question is here, but I'm just going to share this, I guess, with you. So I went for 2 sessions, and I know you're probably thinking like maybe give it a little bit more time, but I just like couldn't. So I sat down there and I told her like pretty much like the high level life story of mine, very serious topics in my opinion. And then I was like, I know I have a lot of like what people like classically call daddy issues. And I can't seem to have any healthy relationships. And I kind of want to get to the root and get past that so that way I can build a healthy relationship. And the next session, she sits me down and she was like, well, have you tried like Match.com? Have you heard from that boy that you told me about? And I'm like, out of all of these things, that's what you take from this?
It's so disappointing. But this is what I'll say. People can only meet you
right
as much as they've met themselves. And people are shocked that a lot of therapists haven't done this work.
Right. I know. I was like, my trauma is too complex for this woman.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, I do think like I'm not completely closed off to the idea, but it does take a lot to go in there and sit down with a stranger and say, here's what I've been through. So it's like almost re-triggering you and bringing it back up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then to leave me really essentially with nothing, no tools, and to have to do that again with someone.
It's literally wounding your inner child.
Yes. So like the thought of trying it again is like harmful. So I was like, this is just like really sucks. And I'm like, maybe I should have figured it out before I shared everything. I was like, I don't know.
No, I mean, everyone's doing like when they go to a therapist, they're expecting that the therapist will know what the fuck they're doing.
Right.
And here's the thing, like there's also like this is also not common knowledge. I think it's becoming more. There's different types of therapy. And I think even just educating people on what to look for in a therapist, like the modality that I was talking about is ISTDP.
Okay.
Which is, oh God, intensive short-term
something
dynamic psychotherapy. I don't know.
Okay.
People
can Google
ISTDP. And that again, so like if somebody wanted to do this deeper work that I'm talking about of like you're going to get down to your repressed anger and the therapist is going to do everything in their power to show you where you are in the change triangle, and they're not probably going to literally use a change triangle, but call out your defenses and help you get into your feeling. If you want that type of thing, you're going to look for an ISTDP therapist. Right. There's like a really popular one is IFS, internal family systems. Okay. Have you heard of this? Maybe. It's a helpful thing. It's called parts work, where you this is a whole thing, but I just feel like it's helpful to like talk about these different things. Yeah. So like internal family systems will talk about the different parts of you. So we would talk about the scared part of you. We would talk about the afraid part of you. We would talk about the part of you that learned to protect yourself from men. And I would say, okay, if that part could talk, what would the part that learned to not be vulnerable with men, where did it come from? Right. Why is it here? right? And that's a unique way to get like deeper into these things.
Yeah.
What a lot of people are experiencing in therapy is cognitive behavioral therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these experiences because it is cognitive behavioral.
Right.
And we're not talking about emotional, which is this new wave of emotional intelligence that we are evolving as a civilization into. A lot of these therapists who've been therapists for a long time at no fault of their own, they don't even know this stuff because it's kind of like a newer modality. So I would say search for emotional focused therapy, you know, if parts work, if that concept helps you, internal family systems, ISTDP, like there's different things that will get you into those emotions more than other modalities.
Okay.
Cognitive behavioral therapy, which is the majority of therapists are working on kind of what you've been doing, which is I want to stop self-sabotaging. I want to like be able to set boundaries with myself and others, like very tangible.
Yep.
Like I have this thought, how do I stop myself from
what
spiraling?
Tools can I get?
Very tools based, very like intellect cognitive based, right? Like we're looking at our thoughts, cognition, and then we're looking at how that affects our behavior. So I can stop self-sabotaging. But that's not doing deeper work.
Yeah, and honestly, I like was thinking about it more, especially since like I was like just telling you about like the meditation, like and how that fucks me up.
Yeah.
Like I'm like maybe even talk therapy would kind of be like re-triggering for me too.
I absolutely think that.
Like without like changing the neural pathways in my head, like, and I don't know.
It's all about creating safety.
Right.
And I think like first of all, you do not feel safe in those therapy settings. It doesn't sound like.
Fuck that girl.
But also, and also like creating safety here. So if we are to work together, that's where we're starting, right? Or if you go to any of these places, these other modalities I'm telling you about, like it's like, how do we just start with just safety in your body?
Well, and also too, like going back to like your mentor being like, I get it. It's like I did not feel heard at all. I was like, out of all of this, you think all I wanted is a boyfriend, which like I guess essentially, but I'm like, there's a lot of other shit going on here, lady.
Yeah.
Oh, and like not even that. It's like I didn't just mention my dad. I'm like also like my mommy issues. I'm like, no, I'm not on Match.com. I have no business being on there.
I'm really glad you're sharing this though, because I hope that people hear this and are like, okay, that was my experience and I can give it another go.
Right.
And just maybe not look for a CBT therapist.
Yeah.
Or if that's not what you're looking for, that's no, like it's a helpful thing.
Well, but I think it's like it took so much to even take that step.
Yeah.
So like it does suck. Done. And so that was like a couple years ago. And I would say like I just started researching therapists like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it took me that long.
It's a daunting process. And then to like, I've been through so many therapists myself.
Yeah.
Like so fucking many. And I'm just like, nope, I know more than you.
I know that's almost what I was like, I could be your therapist.
That's what I mean. It sounds so arrogant.
And I don't even have a psychology degree. I was like, all these podcasts I've listened to.
Right. I'm just like, yeah, it's really crazy. Some people they're out there. And I just hope that doesn't deter people.
Yeah.
But I get it. It's like so daunting. It's so incredibly daunting to like go to someone. And then it's like most people don't have like, again, I have like a unique situation where like my mentor is a therapist and I'm like I've had this very unique story that's led me to here. Like, whereas like most people don't have that. And so like, they don't know what to look for.
Right.
And so it's like, is it me? Like, is it that I just am not doing therapy right? Or is it just like, I've had so many people say that, like, I'm just not good at therapy. And I'm like, I hate that you feel that way.
Right.
It's just like, you don't, like, how are we to know?
Yeah.
What is a good therapist?
I've heard so many people like say like so many good things about it. So I'm like, I know it's possible. It's just you have to really find like the right fit for you.
Yeah, you do.
So I'm saying that as someone who has. I did want to ask you though, and okay, so I know that you had mentioned that, you know, when your ex, with everything that happened with him, you were in a relationship.
Yes.
Are you still in that same relationship?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but maybe like with like your like coaching hat on, you can. But I did want to ask you. So for me personally, a lot of like the work that I have done is because like just like a little bit of backstory for you personally. I used to like date toxic men, and through like just listening to probably podcast, I realized that I was recreating my same circumstances, which is like eventually I'll be abandoned. And so I've really worked on that. And like recently I have started, like, I haven't had a boyfriend per se, but like I've dated people, like, you know, and like good guys. Whereas before I probably would have thought they were like so boring and like wouldn't be attracted to them. And so like I'm very proud of myself. I was kind of talking about this like on the last episode, but the like the pieces that like I'm not worried about, but just like don't really know how to approach is like talking about traumas like with a partner. Like, should it just be natural, or like at what point do you talk to people about this? Like, do you have any like recommendations or thoughts on this?
Okay. I feel like there's a couple questions here.
Okay.
So is your question is like, at what point do you start talking about the trauma?
Yeah, it's like, do you have like a just like a conversation like once you get more serious, like, hey, I need to tell you about my life, or like should I just like let it come up naturally? Because it can be like a, first of all, I could never just sit down in one session and tell everyone because it's like a lot.
Yeah.
But like it is a huge piece of me, and so I do feel like it's really important to share.
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah. I think, you know, my gut reaction is to say like there's no clear answer.
Right.
You know, like I wish like I could give some fancy answer, but like the truth is like relationships are that nuance, how I talked about the gray.
Yeah.
Black and white, this beautiful answer is in the top left-hand corner, would be avoiding, like, what does it look like for you to stay present with yourself, with that person?
Okay.
A lot of times we will tell our trauma like as a trauma response. Like we're like oversharing, or like,
okay,
hey, this happened to me. Are you going to leave me because of this? Or like, take care of me, save me, rescue me. Right? Like we can be up there. And so my invitation for you in this is answer that question with your body. Do I feel safe with this person? How is my body feeling with this person? Like, can I handle this part of my story? Can I handle like being with this before I invite somebody else to be with us? And again, even that's not black and white, because we heal in relationship. You don't have to be this healed, perfect person to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
But does that make sense what I'm saying? Like if you just stay, I'm like imagining you sitting on this couch with this person. And if I was here like a little fly on the wall, I would just say, okay, how does it feel to share this part of your story right now? Do you feel safe? And
okay. I really like that, because I think I don't think I've been like thinking of it from that perspective. I've just been thinking of like when you're getting to know someone in the beginning, in general, you just start sharing things about yourself, and it's like, this is like a huge part of me, and so it's almost like they're missing that if I don't.
Yeah.
But I also like I don't need a timeline.
And I think there's also like, for me, I remember like dating, just being like, I don't want to waste my time if you don't have tolerance for this. But there's ways to do that without telling my whole life story.
Yeah.
You know, like you can, if is that one of your concerns almost, or or is it just literally just about like knowing you?
So like I have like a list of and like I wrote this forever ago, but I actually just revisited it, of like things that are like non-negotiables of like what I look for in someone. And like one of the key pieces is that they like can listen to me and want to get to know that piece of me, but like don't hate my parents. And so I think it's like really telling, like if I tell someone like a piece of any bit of what I've been through, and like to see their reaction. You know what I mean? And then eventually, like if I get to the part like where like they meet like my mom or meet my dad, like how like will they respect them? Because it's like they're still in my life. I still love them. And I want them to like the empathy that I give my parents, like I want my partner to also give.
I think that you could find out those things without sharing your whole life story.
Okay.
do you know, I mean, like, you can pick up those things in a
like who they are as a person.
Yeah, and like, how do they respond when you talk about, what can you say? Oh, this thing happened. Are they like, oh, fuck that person?
Yeah.
Like, are they like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you can like.
No, that makes a lot of
get a
sense because
feel.
actually, like, the person that I'm like newly seeing right now, I was like bitching about someone, like one of my, like someone that is in my family, and they gave that person way more, because like, you know, like when you're talking shit, like you just like want someone to be like, yeah, fuck that person, literally. Like I wasn't getting that, and I was like and they were like, well, like, you know, they have to live with that person, you know, they're married, so like maybe like look at it from their point of view. And I was like I'm like, okay, already adding to my life. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess that is a good point, but it's like still like kind of nerve-wracking to like have like someone like see that piece of you too.
And I think, yeah, just you go slow. What feels good for you.
Right. Okay. So we were, for the listeners, we were kind of talking a little bit offline, and I asked like if you're doing this full time now, and you had said yes. So I'm just kind of curious, like listening to people talk about their emotions and experiences, like I'm sure that can be like a lot and overwhelming. So I'm just like curious, like how you like take care of you and like stay grounded with everyone else's shit, basically.
I feel I get this question a lot just from people in my life, like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
And it's not hard for me, and I wish I had it's the thing that I feel like it grounds me.
Okay.
Because I'm doing what I feel like I'm supposed to be doing.
Oh, I love that.
Like this is what comes natural to me. I believe this is my purpose. And so for me, it's really grounding. Have I had experience that are super dysregulating? Absolutely. Like I'm in therapy. That's to answer your question. I'm in therapy.
Yeah.
I'm in my own therapy. I do all I try to practice what I preach. And I think that is what like keeps me grounded in it.
Okay.
Like and also I don't do many sessions in a day.
Okay.
Like right now my max is like 5 in a day.
Okay.
Which a lot of therapists will do 8 in a day. And I'm just like, I'm not going to do that.
And is it hour long, 45-minute long?
50 minutes.
Okay, 50.
So I have like I like try to put them like kind of back to back, and I'll have like a 10-minute break in between. And I use that 10 minutes very intentionally. I will go to my backyard and I will like lay in my grass and I will take deep breaths.
Like literally ground.
Literally ground. Like I will, like if I'm feeling like anxious energy, or I'm like I'm holding some of their anger or something for them, then I'll just like shake. I'm very into like somatic release. Go drink water. Like I feel like I have to be very, very intentional with that time, like being with my breath. Like if I didn't practice what I preach and I wasn't like super connected with my body, it could be pretty fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Do you ever, because like we all have bad days, but like also like you have to be there for people on their bad days. Like, do you ever just like call it and you're like, I have to cancel today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It's rare that I've had to do that, because I think, again, these like I'm able to like get in my body and stuff, but there's been a couple times, where I've had to. I think that's definitely the hardest part of this job, and being self-employed doing this job,
right,
is like, and why I'm like, I have to think of other like ways to have income so that I don't feel like I have to push it on those days, because the person, it's like, you deserve to like have all of me in those moments. But yeah, sometimes you just can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was literally just talking to my mom about
like
this the other day.
You need a mental health day.
Yeah. It's just really hard as a self-employed person, because it's like, another thing too is like, even more than like having a day off, like, I know that sounds so silly, but like even having like a bad day on social media, I think one of the reasons, to like circle all the way back to the beginning, why I hate social media so much is because I feel like I can't be authentic on social media.
Okay.
Because let's just say I go on and I'm like being very real about like this fucked up morning that I'm having, and I'm like so dysregulated, I'm not okay. And you have a meeting with me in an hour and you see that.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I'm not going to get on that call with you if I'm not regulated.
Right.
I'm not going to get on that call with you if I'm not handled.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get on that, you know, but
I feel like that content would be like welcomed on TikTok. Just so also sidebar, I was asking Madison if she's on TikTok and she said yes, but like 3 videos. But
Yeah,
I don't know.
really.
I feel like different people show up on different platforms.
Yeah.
And I do feel like being honest about that would be like really encouraged.
It's been one of the hurdles for me is
Yeah.
like I value authenticity so much, and why I love podcast settings so much, because it's like first of all, like I can't imagine any of these things we talked about, like putting it in like a 60-second clip. No. It's just like so.
I will try to clip it. But
I know it's so hard. But
I was thinking, I'm like, oh my god, what am I gonna do?
And the thing is, it's better this way though, because we're having an authentic conversation.
Yeah.
Versus like me setting up my phone and like being like, okay, I'm gonna talk about like boundaries, but I want to talk about this and this and this, and then someone's like, oh, but you missed this. And it's like, I know, I have 60 seconds.
Yeah,
like,
ran out of time.
It's so for that reason I hate it, but also like this part of like,
yes,
I feel like I don't want to be all butterflies and rainbows, because that's not who I am. That's not me at all.
Yeah,
it doesn't represent my brand or like why I even do what I do. But I have clients who are gonna go see everything that I'm saying. You know, so I think
that makes sense.
Hard part. Yeah,
and like even like attracting like other clients too, because like you are a business, you know, like that's how you make your money.
I think it actually attracts people. Okay. I think authenticity attracts.
I agree. The
problem is if you have a session with me that day, it's a little less attracting.
Right.
I think.
Yeah. And that's another reason like why I love podcasting too, because it's like just like your authentic self. Like it's just long form conversation. Like I used to cut out a lot of things, but like I was telling you earlier, like I really try hard not to.
Yeah.
And that might mean my episodes are over an hour.
Yeah.
And people might not love that. But like I'm like,
but some people
people will. Yeah. Whoever wants to listen. If you don't want to finish it, don't. You know? So I mean, I really hope like people do like this, because I mean I like vulnerability and honesty. So.
I think it is a very like it attracts people, and like something that like I've just loved about your podcast and like seeing your content, and why I was like when you DM me, I was like yes, literally no questions asked. Yes.
I was so happy
because I think like you're extremely authentic.
I try to be,
and I think that's what people like draws people to you.
Yeah.
And honestly, like I'm like envious of when I see your content, because I'm like,
oh, thank you.
Like I want to be that authentic. I have my own, this thing I just shared with you that's keeping me from that.
Yeah.
But I think like, yeah.
I mean, like I try to always be authentic and share as much as I can, but also like respecting other people's boundaries too. And it has like been difficult because it's not just me involved, it's other people.
I listened to your episode about that.
Oh, did you?
I didn't get to the whole thing, but I listened to
It's tough because I don't know. I feel like one day I'm just gonna like reveal it all, or like maybe like write a book or something and just like not care, because I do think like sharing like specific details and moments are helpful to people. And I've always said like the reason I started loving podcasts is because I was hearing other people's stories and I related to them, and then heard like how they worked through it, or how they maybe didn't and how they're still fucked up, you know? So yeah, I was like very happy when you said you would come on. I was like, oh, we have so much to talk about.
I know. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface.
I know. I was like, I still have so many questions. I know like you were saying that like previously it was, what was the name of your business? Grief
and Groundwork.
So I did want to like kind of talk to you about grief. So like as like we've kind of talked about, like I've really been able to logically process a lot of my traumas. And I think like when I was like writing my questions out, like I was kind of like trying to like articulate it like the best way I could. And kind of like what I came up with is, I think like the way I can logically think about it is like my parents, they have their own life experiences and they had the tools that they had, you know, they did the best that they could. And I can logically understand that. Like they weren't intentionally like doing it to me, I guess, but like they did. you know, like they are people and they did it to me.
Yes.
And I can understand that. But like grief specifically from like losing, like from death specifically, that for me, I would say is like one emotion that I have really struggled with as an adult. And I was like trying to like think about it, like again, logically think about it last night. And I think it's because it's like one of my friends like passed, and like he didn't do it to me. Like he just died. And I think also like there's a lack of control. Like we have no control over when that happens. And so I guess like what are your like thoughts on that? Like do you have like any advice on grief? Like processing like grief from like loss?
Everything that I've talked about today is the same exact thing with grief. Like we do the same things with grief. It like everything we've talked about with the change triangle, just throw grief at the bottom. Okay. Because grief is just a combination of anger, sadness, fear. Right. And I think that's why it's so complex. It's just like so many things at once.
Right.
But I also think everything that you've talked about today or like alluded to, your traumas, your thing, is also grief.
Yeah.
I know this is abstract and maybe not helpful. Basically what I'm getting at is it's the same.
Okay.
It's the same process.
Okay.
Of moving through fucking uncomfortable feeling.
Right.
Whether this is someone that did something to you or that someone just died.
Yep.
It's the same process. Can I tolerate being with what is? Okay. Can I tolerate feeling my feelings?
Okay.
And a lot of times what happens, and I hope I'm not going off on a tangent here, this might help, I don't know. A lot of times what people will come to me for grief about my mom died. Okay. And in order for us to even get there, we have to go and unblock their ability to feel sadness.
Yeah. Yeah.
To even be able to then grieve and feel this.
Okay.
So that's why I'm saying it's the same thing. Like the pain of like the suffering that have you ever heard the thing that's like pain plus resistance equals suffering?
Oh yeah.
That's this. Whatever grief we're talking about, like you work through it the same, the resistance is the same. I feel like I'm not giving a satisfactory answer.
No, I think I'm just like you are for sure. I think I'm just like thinking more too logically about it because it's tough because, and like we were talking about earlier, like I cry, I feel it, but maybe it's that underlying
and that's
emotion that like I feel like with like every answer you've given me, it's like, well, I think there's just probably something else there.
And I know that.
So I'm like, Madison, I fucking cry all the time. I am sad.
I know. What's really hard about this is like, I feel like even just like maybe listening to this, it could be like frustrating. Like, what is this abstract thing she's talking about? And
do the work.
And that's like the catch-22 of this is like, it is experiential.
Right.
Like, we could talk about this as much as we want, but until we like put these mics down and we do this and we can do it on camera. I don't care. I'm just saying like,
no thanks.
It is an experiential process to understand this. It is not an intellectual process, but can you see intellectually that for us to move through grief of losing someone through death, you might intellectualize it in the top left-hand corner.
Yeah.
You might feel anxious and shame and guilt because I didn't spend enough time with them. Oh my gosh. Or, like I might distract myself because the pain's so heavy. And the more and more we can bring ourselves down and present at the bottom of the triangle, staying present with when I feel sad, I actually listen to it. Like I had to learn this so much with Jordan's death. I mean, like, I talk about so much, like even just like sadness being accepted in our culture. Like I would go into the grocery store. I couldn't tolerate going to the grocery store. I was so fucked up. I like, there'd be music playing in the grocery store and I would just like, I have to go. And what I started giving myself permission to do was, I'm just going to fucking cry in the grocery store.
Yeah.
I'm just going to cry in the car. I'm just going to like, I will this was even before he passed, when I was just grieving the divorce. I remember just being at Copper Spoon, like at the bar with a couple of people. And it was like, I think it was the day that the divorce was final. And I was just like,
Yeah.
it just hit me.
Yeah.
And I feel like society says like, all right, it's okay. I'm fine. Let's drink. And I was like, suddenly not fine.
And you just cried?
And I just sat there and I was like, I mean, I can leave if you don't have the space for this, everyone here, but this is what I need to do right now.
Yeah.
And of course it was just like, no, we'll be here with you.
Yeah.
And I spent like 20 minutes at this.
It's beautiful.
It's 20 minutes here, just like crying at the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. People are uncomfortable. I'm giving them permission to be what they need to be.
Yeah.
When this comes up for them, that the only reason they're uncomfortable with me crying at this bar is because they don't give themselves permission, because no one's given them permission, and we've alienated grief. I'm going on a whole tangent.
No, but it's okay.
What I'm getting at is learning how to be present with your grief.
Right.
Like, can I give one more quick story here?
Yes, of course. This is your episode.
Okay. Just to like show like
this is not my therapy session.
Another story that I just think is significant that I sometimes share with my clients when they're like, what do you mean? Like, I can't just do this, is I had like, I don't know, like 7 people over at my apartment, like around the time that the divorce was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And again, everyone's happy. Everyone's having a good time. Like, I'm hosting, and I have like a studio apartment with like no door to my bedroom. Okay. Yeah. It's just like a little opening. Of course. And I just like felt the grief come. Mm-hmm. And the story that I've been taught is, no, you're hosting. No, these people drove 3 hours to come over to your house to come visit you. This is too much. You're going to ruin everyone else's night. And I just said, hey guys, I'm not doing good. I'm fine. Stay here. I need a minute. And they could see me, but I just went into my bed and I just fucking cried.
Did they leave you? Like, did you want to be?
No, I would have said, that's the thing. Yeah. I gave myself permission to be what I was.
Right.
And if what I was I need to be alone, I would have said, hey, can you guys leave my fucking house? Yeah. I'm really sorry. Can you go on a walk? Can you go on a 20-minute walk? I'll be ready.
Sorry.
No.
Keep going.
Yes. No. Go.
I was just going to add, like, first of all, I love that you're able to do that, like with the people that like love and care about you, because I do feel like I give myself a lot of permission to like feel my feelings when I'm like by myself, but like I do kind of like, I feel like as women we mask a lot, and I know it's not just a woman trait, but like I do think a lot of times like we are supposed to like help other people and nurture, like that's like what we've been conditioned to do. I do think like we need to like normalize it, and
it starts with yourself.
Yeah,
because no one can give you that permission. I think that's what I learned. It's like, it's not going to be normal in society until it's normal with you.
Right.
And maybe someone saw me cry in the grocery store and then they cried in the grocery store. Probably not. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just about like giving yourself that permission.
Right. Yeah. I would say like for me personally, there's only like a few people like I cry in front of. Mm-hmm. It's not like something that's easy for me, because I just like, I do think I kind of mask it like when I am having like an emotional day.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's so important to me. I mean, obviously there's situations where I'm gonna like hold my shit together. I think like being able to like regulate your emotions in certain situations is a very healthy mature thing. So I want to be very clear about that.
Right.
But I also think like, if you think about like inner child work, and I feel like a sad song would come on the radio in the grocery store. Mm-hmm. Imagine, because this is what I'm doing if I shove the cry down, is I'm looking at my inner child and going, not here.
Yeah.
What will people think of you?
Okay.
So I'm traumatizing the fuck
Never
out
even thought about it that way.
And then I'm at the bar and she's like, but I'm actually really sad about this. And I'm like, stop. People are here. They need to have fun.
Right.
Like, I'm gentle parenting myself, bitch. Like, I'm gonna give myself, if that little girl was sitting there with me,
and it's like invalidating your experience.
Yeah, there's no way in hell I'm gonna tell her, wait till we get to the car to cry. I'm gonna hold her in the aisle.
Yes,
I'm gonna freaking hold her there.
Oh my god, I love that.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting choked up.
Yes.
Because but that only happens if we can like radically see ourselves and like give ourselves that permission. And I think for so many people, and for me, like having that visual of that inner child, and it's like, if I would not say this to her right now,
Right.
I am not going to keep saying it to myself. And because people telling her that is how I got here,
right,
how I got so repressed and fucked up and depressed and anxious and dysregulated.
right. And like we all deserved to be loved the way like we should have been. And that's why I get so sad, because it's like I was such a good kid, and it just like makes me sad. It's like, how could you not like give her everything that you like should have? I couldn't even imagine that. So yeah.
Now we get to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's like the message of all of this, is like, this shit happens. It sucks. And really all of this, everything we're talking about, is how do we take our power back?
Right.
And
like kind of reparent ourselves.
100%.
Like that's what brings me peace a lot now, like in comfort, is like I'm safe with me. Like I always got me.
Yeah.
Like I've never not taken care of myself. And it doesn't really matter who else hasn't at this. I mean, like it does, but like
those are bonus.
It's like that's in the past, and it's like now I just need to focus on like me in the now. Is like what I try to think. Okay, so I think we've kind of talked a little bit about like bits and pieces of this, but I like want to kind of like talk about the actual topic of, so like I'll give some background and then I'll ask a question. So it's like in regards to like memory loss. So for me, I have like a black hole of memories from like ages 0 to like 7. And then just in general, like my memory sucks. And there's like things where I'm like probably like of age where I really should be remembering. And my family will bring these things up. And I'm like, I have no idea what you're even talking about. And just like through like my own research and stuff like that, and watching, videos and podcasts, I have like, this is from trauma for sure. If I had to guess. And so like very recently I like have started remembering things, and like not like super happy fun things. And so I guess like I just kind of wanted to talk to you about that. Like, what are your thoughts on it? Like, I know for like what you were saying with meditation specifically is getting to like the root of why you're feeling something, but I wouldn't say that's necessarily the same thing as recovering memories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, what's your thought? Because like, essentially, like I like talked to my sister about this, and she was basically like recommended that I think it was like not, what is it called? Like hypnotherapy, I think is what she recommended. To like recover anything that I may forget. And I was like, I don't know that I feel even safe doing that. And I just like wanted to get like your take on it. What are your thoughts on it? Like, do you, because like essentially, not to keep talking.
No, that's great.
Essentially, I feel like I'm protecting myself from not remembering that stuff.
You absolutely are.
So should I force myself to remember?
No.
That's what I would. Like, I had this whole argument with my sister. I was like,
no, I don't think you should ever force yourself to do anything.
Okay. Right. I mean, yes.
Like, I think, again, I know this is probably a really annoying answer, but it's not black and white.
Yeah.
And every situation is different. And I think what I want to say to you is just like, go slow. When the memories do come up, let's deal with them. There's ways that you can deal with them. Okay. There's ways that you can soften the blow of these things. That's what EMDR is really great for. You can make it so these things are less heavy and PTSD ridden. With like are you talking like flashbacks and heavy body sensations and nightmares?
Like I like feel like I almost like re-experienced it.
Absolutely. So
like I was fucked up.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
Yes. And so things like EMDR can be really helpful for processing that PTSD. So there's techniques that can make it, you remember it, but it's soft.
Okay.
Like there's some things that like images for me that would just literally make me lose my fucking shit and become so dysregulated until I would just shut down.
Right.
That now I can just imagine it.
Okay.
And because of EMDR, I'm able to just like
okay,
go to that place and soften it.
Yeah.
But I
like
don't think
it
you
was
can
like really
force that.
I was like I haven't had this low of a low in a long time.
Yeah, it's PTSD.
And then I couldn't like really talk about it. I felt like I couldn't. I mean, I eventually talked to my sister about it, but
yeah, and that's why I think like doing this work, it's not black and white. Like you have to just go slow, be with safe people,
right,
as you're doing it, and just like one thing at a time. If something traumatic does come up, because it probably will,
yeah,
especially when we're tapping into this like repressed stuff. Like you tap into this imagining kind of like murderous rage that I'm talking about, that is just innate in all of us, unfortunately, which is a whole other episode.
Yeah.
Your mind, that like those images are part of the reasons those emotions are repressed, because your mind doesn't want to face why you are angry. Right. They go hand in hand.
Well, and kind of like what I was like also like thinking about too is like I remember a lot, and a lot of what I remember sucked really bad. And so it's like if I really am needing to protect myself, I'm like, it's probably shit I probably like need someone to be there with. And like I like did my own research on stuff on it, and it's like essentially like what I personally found, which I'm sure there's all sorts of opinions and guidance on it, is that like it could like throw you into like, is it psychosis? Is that like where you just like have like a mental breakdown?
Yeah.
If you push it too hard without having the tools. And and so then I was like, I know the meditation fucks me up.
I'm so glad you know that.
So I'm like, there's like, I am not doing, I'm like for me, but I just wasn't sure what your take would be. So I just wanted to ask.
Yeah. I think like that's what exactly like, know your limits. That is a limit of your, like, you know, and hopefully whoever you would be working with would know, and you could, this is something you could share now. Like, no, I have to go very slow. I have severe PTSD response, and this is what happens to me. And another thing, like, you can tell your therapist no. Like, seriously, like, you can tell your therapist no. Like, no.
That's where the power dynamic comes in. You probably just like follow anything they say.
And you can tell, listen. You can tell your therapist no. You can tell your doctor no. You can tell your psychiatrist no. There is not a fucking professional out there that knows what you need better than you do.
Yeah. Trust yourself. And I think even with my background, even with all the things that I thought that I knew, even though I had a psychology degree, even though all this, which really isn't much, right? Like, it's just not that big of a deal. But still, like, but even then, that puts me at least a little bit more knowledgeable than the average person on how the mind works and shit like that. Like, even then, I had these horrible experiences with therapists, with doctors, and I played into that power dynamic without even knowing it. Yeah.
But it's like,
don't even get me started.
Like, you can tell your therapist no. So in that, like, I am too dysregulated. We're stopping. I need your help to regulate.
I think, like, in my personal experience with this, like, if I do want to explore this eventually with a therapist, like, I would have to, like, there would be like a whole backlog of building trust. Like, let's just like talk about what I do remember first.
Yeah.
Let's start there and then get to that. Cause like, I'm like in no rush. Like, on one hand, it's like, okay, I'm starting to remember like things. But then on the other hand, it's like, okay, like, I've lived my whole life without remembering it. It's fine. And another thing like that I just like wanted to mention, which I think is like kind of weird, and I guess maybe like what to get your take on, is like through this research, because I was like, okay, like, why now? Like, why after like 31 years am I like starting to remember things? And I watched this video, and this girl said that like a lot of times when adults who have memory loss start to feel safe, and like she explained like whether they find like a partner that really makes them feel safe. And then she gave an example of a dog. And I was like, oh my God, I got her like 5 months ago. And like then all this stuff started happening. I was like, how beautiful. Also traumatic.
Yeah. Like, when your nervous system says, oh, the threat's gone.
Right.
That's
and I'm getting physical touch from her. I'm like not as lonely as I was before. Like I'm like, she's like benefiting me way more than I'm benefiting her. I was like, that's like really kind of interesting to think about.
It's the same thing. So like meditation is the extreme of that. So if you just think like sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, like fight or flight versus rest and digest, like what you're experiencing is, oh, I'm not in fight or flight 24 fucking 7. So my subconscious mind, I'm not in the state of like survival. So these memories are coming forward. Meditation is the extreme version of that.
Okay.
So that's just happening to you. Does that make sense? It's like on the spectrum. You're just kind of like at the beginning of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, I do feel like I could sit here and talk to you forever. So maybe you'll have to come on the podcast again.
You know, I would.
I'll start adding questions. Just like have a running list for you. Part 17. But so for anyone that doesn't know that it's tuning in, you know, for Madison, I end every episode with an OPE story. And so for the people that don't know what OPE is, it's like a Midwest thing that we say, like, if you bump into someone, typically you're like, oh, or like a lot of times if I interrupt someone on a call, I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And so like what I think of the OPE story is like something that's like awkward or crazy or like weird that has happened to you. Like, so just like a story. So Madison, the floor is yours.
Okay. This took a lot more effort than it should have. Like, I just feel like you just like, you remember, like it's probably repressed.
I was going to say, I was like, well, yeah.
I probably have a lot of repressed, embarrassing stories, I guess. I don't know. But
you should work through that.
I know. I finally discovered one today. And it took me like texting my childhood best friend to be like, what are my embarrassing stories? And it was when I texted her that this like came to my mind. So I was sitting on a couch similar to this.
Okay.
This was years ago. I was living in Minnesota. I was married. I went over to a friend's house and just was like having like a chill Sunday.
Okay.
We were all just hanging out. I think they were like playing video games, and it was a bunch of dudes. So all of my husband at the time's best friends, and then me. There was no, I don't think there was another woman there. I think it was just a bunch of dudes.
Nice.
And I'm like, fall asleep, just letting the guys do their thing. And I fall asleep on the couch, and I wake up and I go to the bathroom and blood everywhere.
Oh no.
Bled through. I didn't know. Keep in mind, this is important to the story, is like I either had just like gotten an IUD or had just gotten one taken out.
Okay. Yep.
I don't remember like what it was, but either way, I think it like fucks with you.
It
and
dysregulates.
Like, it makes
your hormones.
Your periods like could be really, really super heavy for like the first little while. And I was not prepared whatsoever. So I'm like,
wait, and you were at your house, or this was
no? Sorry, I was at somebody else's house. I was at the guys who we were
even worse.
Yeah, we went to the guy's apartment. These group of guys who lived here, and so I'm like, oh my god, and I like literally threw my pants, totally destroyed.
Did you get on the couch?
So I go back out there to try to like get Jordan's attention, to be like, help me, I don't know what to do. And when I do that, I look at the couch and I see no, I don't even know how I wasn't dead. Like how much blood left my body. Like
it's like their white couch.
Literally. And thankfully this was like just like a shitty like post-college couch. Like not like it's just a bunch of dudes living in a house together, like first jobs out of college.
Yeah.
Like they got this on Craigslist for free. Okay. So like it's not a big deal.
Couch.
But I was like, oh, what the fuck do I do? So I like went back into the bathroom, and I think I tried to text Jordan. I tried to get his attention. I don't even know what I did, but I was like,
what the fuck are you doing?
And I realized that if I was going to get Jordan's attention, I was going to get everyone's attention.
Yeah.
And then they were going to notice the couch.
Yeah.
So I just did what I had to do. And I go, all right. And I walk out there and I was like, everybody, can I have your attention? Everyone stay calm.
I just died.
I am having the worst period of my life, and I bled all over your couch. I need you to not look. I don't remember the details, but like I just knew I had to make an announcement. Like I had to just own it in front of everyone, because if I tried to hide it, it would just been so uncomfortable. And just like one person would have saw it and they would have felt bad for me. It would just been this whole fucking thing. So I was just like,
and I need to borrow some pants.
so Jordan got up and we like unzipped the thing, and like saw how bad the damage was. I don't remember. We like threw it in the washer and like got paper towel, and he was like helping me.
Oh,
I know, so sweet. Like helping me like that, and then we were like, all right, well, we're gonna go. Like, so I just like leave like completely drenched. They were very sweet about it. Very sweet about it. And I like literally forgot this happened. Like this resurfaced. Talking about resurfaced memories is completely.
You're welcome.
I like totally forgot this happened until you asked me this question.
I mean, I feel like we've all been there though, and it's like such like a normal thing. But like, how old do you? Like you said, you were in college.
It was post college.
Okay,
I was like 23.
Okay, so that helps a little bit
24.
Because it's like I feel like younger guys are like, ew.
Yeah, they were totally.
Your bodily fluids are all over, but
it's just embarrassing. I think it's different when it's like on your person.
Yeah.
Versus like, I just ruined your couch.
Yeah.
Like that was, I think that's what was so hard about it for me. Is like,
and like the extent of how large the spot was.
Yeah, it wasn't. I went back expecting like a dot, and it was like, oh my, do I need to go to the hospital? Like, how did I sleep through that?
But I know. Okay, so like I like same situation, like which like you were saying, like you don't know if it's like you got on the birth control or got off of it, but like same situation, like I got off birth control and I was like, how am I still alive?
Yeah,
like how is this physically possible? And I did feel like shit, but like it's rough when we go through like shit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
yeah, literally Okay, Madison, drop your socials, plug anything you want to plug. You have a website and where people can buy the Trigger Tracker Journal.
Yes. So the Trigger Tracking Journal is on Amazon, but probably the easiest way to find it, just because it's not the most popular thing in the world. You can just type it in. If you go to my Instagram, so groundwork_coaching, because groundwork coaching was taken by a soccer team.
Oh, shit.
A soccer program in Australia. But groundwork_coaching is my
James. Excuse me.
I know.
I'm trying to do work here.
I know. I need it. So groundwork_coaching is my Instagram. On there, I have a link tree that has like a link to book a free consult with me, to find the Trigger Tracking Journal on Amazon, to merch that I have.
Okay.
Like I have little like fun prints and mugs and shit like that.
It's cute.
And yes, and my website, if you just go straight to my website, is Madison Shea, spelled like shea butter. So Madison SHEA, which is my middle name, madisonshea.com.
Okay.
I think that's the only places to find me. Yeah.
I mean, I Googled you. I think that's it. Literally, like I just Googled you yesterday. It's like, what else can I find?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on and being my personal therapist.
It was really fun.
Yeah, we definitely have to do it again, and I might be hitting you up.
Yes, please.
But for everyone else, you can follow me at Abby McCarville and follow the Oat Pod.
Oh.